You checked your bank account this morning. It looked fine last week. Now it's lower, not dramatically, not a crisis, just less, and you can't quite explain why. There's no single big purchase, no $2,000 mistake, just dozens of small numbers, 90.99 tins, 14.50 cents, $27. They don't feel dangerous, but they add up quietly. You tell yourself, I didn't do anything wrong, and technically you didn't. You paid for things you use, things you enjoy, things that make life easier. But here's the uncomfortable truth. You're not running out of money. Your money is running away from you, and it's doing it in places you don't even notice. Let's say you make $4,500 a month after taxes. That's about $54,000 a year. Not bad, not struggling. You should feel stable, but somehow, at the end of each month, maybe you have $200 left, maybe nothing, sometimes negative, and it doesn't make sense, because on paper you're doing okay. Sarah is 32. She works in marketing. She makes about $75,000 a year, solid income, good career trajectory. She thought she was financially responsible. She didn't gamble. She didn't shop excessively. She didn't buy luxury items. Still, her savings account had just $3,200 in it. After 8 years of working, 8 years, that's about $400 saved per year, $50 a month. That's it. When she looked closer, nothing looked wrong. Rent $2,000, $1,800. Groceries, $450. Utilities, $200. Reasonable. But then came the quiet ones. Streaming services, $72. Food delivery, $280. Ride shares, $190. Subscriptions she forgot about. Impulse Amazon buys, $310. Suddenly that invisible spending was over $900 a month. That's $10,000 a year gone without a single big mistake. This is how money disappears, not in explosions, in leaks. Slow, silent, constant. And the dangerous part? It doesn't feel like losing money. It feels like living your life. Because that's what it is. Convenience, comfort, small rewards. You had a long day. You deserve takeout. You're tired. Uber is easier. You're bored. A quick purchase feels good. Nothing feels extreme. That's exactly why it works. Imagine your income is a bucket of water. Every paycheck fills it up, but your spending, it's not one big hole at the bottom. It's 20 tiny holes all around the sides. Each one looks harmless, but together, they drain everything. And here's the part most people miss. You don't notice small losses. Your brain isn't built for it. Losing $1,000 at once? Painful. Immediate. Losing $10 a day for 100 days? Barely noticeable. But the result is identical. $10 a day is $300 a month. That's $3,655 a year. Invested at 7% for 30 years. That's over $350,000 from $10 a day. Let that sink in. This isn't about guilt. It's about awareness. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And once you understand it, everything changes. Most people think they have an income problem. I just need to make more money. And yes, income matters. But here's what they don't realize. If your system leaks money, more income just means bigger leaks. Someone making $50,000 can build wealth. Someone making $100,000 can stay broke. It's not about how much comes in. It's about how much escapes. You get a raise, $500 more per month. Feels amazing. Then your lifestyle adjusts. Better food, more convenience, slight upgrades everywhere. Suddenly that extra $500 is gone too. This has a name, lifestyle creep, but it doesn't feel like a creep. It feels like progress. You don't think, I'm spending more. You think, I've earned this, and you have. But the math doesn't care about feelings. The math only sees numbers. Wealth is simple. What you keep, not what you earn. Not what you show, not what you feel. What you keep. And here's where it gets tricky. Because modern life is designed to take your money, not aggressively. Subtly. Every app you use is optimized for one thing, to make spending frictionless. No cash, no pause, no second thought. Just tap, and it's done. Years ago, spending money required effort. You had to go somewhere, hand over cash, feel the loss. Now, you don't feel anything. And that's the problem. When you don't feel spending, you don't control spending. And when you don't control spending, money controls you. You might be thinking, so what do I do? Stop enjoying life? No, that's not the answer. Because this isn't about cutting everything. It's about seeing clearly. Right now, your money is moving every day, every swipe, every tap, every subscription renewal you forgot about. And until you understand where it's going, you can't change where it ends up. There are people paying for things they haven't used in months. Gym memberships, streaming services, apps they downloaded once. $9.99 here, $15 there. Feels irrelevant. But 5 subscriptions at $12 each, that's $60 a month. $700 each year for nothing. And this is where time makes everything worse. Because small mistakes repeated become big outcomes over years without you noticing. If Sarah had redirected just $300 a month into an index fund earning 7% after 20 years, she'd have about $157,000. After 30 years, over $360,000. That's not from working harder. That's from leaking less. This is the shift, not working more, not sacrificing everything, just stopping the silent loss. Because here's the truth most people never realize. Money doesn't disappear randomly. It follows patterns. Your patterns. Every dollar you spend is a vote for the life you're building or the one you're delaying. And right now, most people are voting without realizing it. The leaks are small, but they're constant. And unless you find them, they will drain everything. Most people think tracking money is boring, tedious, restrictive, something only finance people do. But when Mike finally sat down and looked at his numbers, he didn't feel restricted. He felt shocked. Mike is 38, works in IT, makes about $92,000 a year. He always thought, I'm doing fine. Bills paid, no overdrafts, decent lifestyle. But his savings, $5,800. After more than a decade of working, something didn't add up. So one Sunday afternoon, he did something simple. He downloaded his last 90 days of transactions. 3 months. That's it. And he categorized everything. Precisely. Here's what he found. Dining out and delivery. $1,140 a month. Subscriptions, $132 a month. Ride shares, $240 a month. Random purchases, $410 a month. That's nearly $1,000 every single month on things he barely remembered buying. He sat there for a while, quiet, not because he felt guilty, because he finally saw it. Clearly, this is where things change, because vague money creates vague results. Clear money creates control. You can't fix what you don't measure. And right now, most people don't measure anything. They estimate, they guess, they assume, and assumptions are expensive. Think about yesterday. Coffee, lunch, maybe a quick Amazon order. Nothing big. But if I asked you exactly how much you spent, would you know? Or would you guess? That gap between reality and your guess, that's where money disappears. And here's the deeper problem. Your brain smooths things out. It forgets the small stuff. It rounds numbers down. It tells you a story that feels comfortable. But comfort is not accuracy, and money requires accuracy. When Mike finished reviewing his numbers, he didn't panic. He didn't swear off restaurants. He didn't cancel everything. He did something smarter. He asked one question. What actually matters to me? Because not all spending is equal. Some things genuinely improve your life. Others just fill space. He realized something surprising. He loved eating out with friends. That stayed. But the random late-night delivery orders, he didn't even enjoy them that much. That went. He kept $600 a month for intentional dining, but caught $500 of mindless spending. Just like that. No suffering. Just clarity. That one adjustment created a $500 monthly gap, $6,000 a year, invested at 7% for 25 years, about $380,000 from one decision. This is where most people get it wrong. They think change has to be extreme. It doesn't. It just has to be precise. You don't need a hammer. You need a scalpel. Cut carefully, not blindly. Emma, 29, a nurse earning $68,000 a year, had a different problem. She was already budgeting. She followed the 50-30-20 rule. 50% needs, 30% wants, 20% savings. Sounds perfect on paper. But her savings never grew because her 30% wants was leaking everywhere. Gym she rarely used, $85, streaming $65, shopping $400, convenience spending $300, It was all labeled once, but that category was too vague. It hid the problem. This is the danger of simple rules. They feel structured, but they can hide reality. So instead of percentages, she switched to visibility. She broke everything down, line by line, and suddenly she saw it. The same pattern, small leaks, everywhere. She didn't cut everything. She just made choices, deliberate ones. $200 less on shopping, $15 less on convenience. That's $350 that month. That's $4,200 a year. At 7% over 30 years, around $400,000. Again, from small changes. Same person, same income, different awareness, massively different outcome. And this leads to something most people never realize. This is the first big shift, the one that changes everything. You don't have a spending problem. You have an attention problem. Pause. Let that sit. Money doesn't disappear because you're irresponsible. It disappears because you're not paying attention. And in a world designed to distract you, that's not an accident. Every notification, every discount, every limited time offer is competing for one thing, your attention, because attention leads to action, and action leads to spending. The less you think, the more you spend. The more you pause, the more you keep. That's the mechanism. That's how the system works. And once you see it, you can use it. Mike started doing one simple thing. Before any non-essential purchase, he paused. Just 24 hours. That's it. If he still wanted it after a day, he bought it. If not, he didn't. His impulse spending dropped by 70% without feeling restricted, because most impulses don't last. They fade quickly. Emma did something similar. She removed saved cards from her apps, added friction. Just a little. Typing your card number is annoying. That's the point. It gives your brain time to think, and thinking saves money. And then one day, you check your account again, and something feels different. Not because you earned more, because you kept more, and that changes how you see everything. But there's a deeper layer to this, something even more important than tracking, more powerful than cutting expenses, and most people never get there. Because even if you stop the leaks, you can still stay stuck. And in the next part, that's exactly what we need to fix. Stopping the leaks feels powerful at first. You see the numbers. You cut the waste. You keep more of what you earn. It feels like progress. And it is. But here's the uncomfortable part. It's not enough. Because saving money is not the same as building wealth. Pause. Let that land. If your money just sits there, even if you protect it perfectly, time will slowly eat it. Not dramatically, quietly. Inflation is about 3% a year on average. Some years higher, some lower, but over time, just like your money can. Let's say you save $20,000. Feels solid, safe. But if inflation averages 3%, in 10 years, that $20,000 will only have the buying power of about $14,800. You didn't lose money, but you lost value. No notification, no warning, just. That's the second leak, the invisible one. Even if you fix your spending, if your money isn't growing, it's shrinking. Most savings accounts pay around 0.5 to 1%. Some high-yield accounts offer 4% right now. That sounds good. But if inflation is 3.5%, your real gain is just 0.5%. That's $50 a year on $10,000. About 14 vols a month. That's not growth. That's barely standing still. This is where Daniel got stuck. Daniel is 45, works as a project manager, makes $11,000 a year. He did everything right, saved consistently, avoided debt, dealt a $60,000 cash reserve. He felt secure until he looked deeper. That $60,000, sitting in a savings account at 1%, was growing by $600 a year. Sounds okay, but inflation at 3%, that's a $1,800 loss in buying power every year. Net result, he was losing $1,200 a year while saving. That's when it clicked for him. Saving protects money. Investing grows money, and you need both. Saving is your defense. Investing is your offense. You can't win with defense alone. You won't lose immediately, but you won't win either. This is where most people hesitate, because investing feels risky, complicated, uncertain. And yes, it can be, if you don't understand it. Let's simplify it. Strip away the noise. No jargon, no hype, just the mechanism. There's something called interest that earns more interest. That's all it is. Your money makes money. Then that money makes more money. And it keeps stacking year after year. Let's say you invest $500 a month at an average return of 7% a year. After 10 years, about $86,000. After 20 years, around $260,000. After 30 years, over $600,000. Same $500, different time, massive difference. Time does the heavy lifting, not effort, not intelligence, consistency. And here's where people get it wrong. They wait. I'll start. When I make more, I'll invest later. But later is expensive. If you start at 25, invest $500 a month for 10 years, then stop, you might end up with around $600,000 by retirement. If you start at 35 and invest $500 a month for 30 years, you might end up with about $610,000. Same result, but one person invested for 10 years, the other for 30. That's the power of starting early. Time matters more than effort, more than timing the market, more than picking the perfect investment. So Daniel made a shift. He didn't move everything. He kept $20,000 as an emergency fund, liquid, safe, accessible. But the other $40,000, he started investing it slowly into broad market funds, simple, diversified, meaning spread across hundreds of companies, not betting on one. He wasn't trying to get rich quick. He was trying to stop getting poorer slowly. Big difference. He also started investing $800 a month, automatically. No decision needed, no emotion involved, just a system. The market went up, then down, then up again. He didn't react because reacting is expensive. This is where the second big shift happens, and it changes everything. Wealth is not built by making perfect decisions. It's built by removing bad ones. Pause. Most people lose money not because they were unlucky, but because they react. They panic, they chase, they guess, and each reaction costs them. Buy high, sell low, again and again, while the calm investor, the boring one, just keeps going and quietly wins. Daniel didn't become an expert. He became consistent, and consistency compounds. Year by year, his money started working, not just sitting, not just waiting, working. And something subtle changed. He stopped worrying about small expenses, not because they didn't matter, but because he knew his system was stronger than his impulses. That's the goal, not perfection. Control, not restriction. Because when your money has a direction, it stops drifting. And when it stops drifting, it starts building something. But there's one final piece, the part that ties everything together. Because even with awareness, even with investing, most people still miss it. And it's the difference between having money and truly understanding it. There's a moment that happens, not when you get your first paycheck, not when you hit your first $10,000, but much later. It's when you stop asking, how much money do I have? And start asking, what is my money doing for me? That's the shift. And most people never make it. Because the world teaches you one version of money. Earn more, spend carefully, save what's left. It sounds responsible, but it's incomplete. It turns money into something you manage, something you protect, something you worry about, but not something you direct. And that's the difference. Management keeps you stable. Direction builds your future. Let me show you what this looks like. Real life, not theory. David is 41, works in sales, makes about $120,000 a year. For most of his life, he focused on income. He negotiated raises, switched jobs, increased his earnings, and it worked. His salary went from $55,000 to $120,000 in about 12 years. That's success. But his net worth barely moved because every increase in income came with an increase in lifestyle. Bigger apartment, better car, more convenience, more everything. He wasn't reckless. He just never stopped to think, where is this all going? Until one night, he did something simple. He asked himself a different question. Not how do I make more, but what is my money building? And he realized something uncomfortable. It wasn't building anything. It was maintaining his life, not expanding it, not securing it, just sustaining it. That's when the final shift happens. And this is the second big insight, the one most people never reach. Money is not for spending. Money is not for saving. Money is for creating options. Pause. Options. That's what money really buys. Not things. Freedom, flexibility, time. The option to take a day off. The option to leave a job you hate. The option to help someone you care about. The option to not panic when life happens. Because life will happen. Unexpected bills, health issues, opportunities you didn't plan for. Money doesn't stop these, but it changes how you respond. So David changed his system, not dramatically, strategically. He kept his lifestyle mostly the same, but redirected $1,500 a month. $1,500, not small, not impossible, intentional. $500 to investments, $500 to long-term index funds, $500 to a freedom fund. That last one mattered most. Not for retirement, not for bills, for options. Within 2 years, that fund reached $36,000. $36,000, not life-changing yet, but something shifted. He stopped feeling trapped because now he had choices. A bad boss didn't feel permanent. A stressful job didn't feel like a cage because he knew he could leave. That's what money is supposed to do. Not impress people, not signal success. Create options. A nicer car doesn't give you freedom. A bigger house doesn't give you flexibility. They often take it away. More payments, more pressure, more dependence on income. And here's the irony. The more your lifestyle grows, the less free you become, unless your assets grow faster. That's the balance. That's the game. And most people don't realize they're playing it. 5 years later, David's investments reached about $180,000. His freedom fund, $75,000. $75,000. Not because he made millions, because he directed his money consistently, and something else changed. Subtle, but powerful. He stopped chasing money because money was working. That's the point most people miss. You don't need to control every dollar forever. You need to build a system that controls it for you. Automatic investing, automatic saving, clear boundaries, so you don't rely on willpower. Because willpower fades, systems don't. Month after month, the system runs quietly, and your life moves forward. You still spend, you still enjoy, but now it's intentional. No guilt, no confusion, no wondering where it all went. Because you decided, and that's what this was always about. Not cutting everything, not obsessing over money. Understanding it, directing it, using it. So if you step back and look at everything, it's actually simple. Not easy, but simple. Find the leaks, stop the silent losses, give your money a job, let time do the heavy lifting, build systems, not stress, and most importantly, use money to create options. Because in the end, money is not the goal, freedom is, and the sooner you see that, the faster everything changes.